like truly I shit you not. I feel like if I sit, I'm not gonna be able to see. Let's try.
Halfway up.
How's that?
Casper was sitting on the couch.
He was sitting on the back of it. He was sitting on the back of it.
And she stood on it.
Don't fall off.
I'll try.
Might want to move that back against the wall because it's not going to take your weight. Back against the wall, that goes over you.
Are you calling me fat? I'm good, actually.
I just want to move it back.
Okay.
I prefer to have you say.
But wouldn't that have been a panel to remember if I went backwards and whacked my head?
Sorry, I prefer you to be safe.
Lost
If you knock it back, at least you're against the wall.
Okay. Thank you. How you going? Good. Thanks for coming. Should we start with questions?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to just dive in.
You up for the rugby in the end?
I say it again?
You up for the rugby?
I didn't.
You were, last night you were, I'm getting up at 4
I was
a.m.
going to. Yeah. I may have been overserved last night.
You were very happy.
Just a little bit.
So you like New Zealand wine then?
I'm sorry?
You like New Zealand wine then?
Yeah, love it. I actually buy it in the States every time I can.
Oh.
Yeah. Any other non-alcoholic questions? You're not allowed to ask that question.
I understand that I can't hear the questions.
Oh, okay.
Got someone here. Yep.
So this gentleman up here asked if there was another season of Firefly coming.
I've got a question.
We just wrapped episode 23, season 2. Surprise!
Just a question to do with Firefly. Before Fox went full retard and cancelled the show, did you have any idea assuming they'd done the second series, way things were going to go? Storylines develop and so on?
Yes and no. I think that's the beauty and the genius of Joss. Kind of sat us down when we were all cast, like one by one. It was the first time a creator, showrunner had done that, sort of like had a private conference with each of the actors to sort of talk about where he saw the evolution, which was so deliciously helpful for an actor, because we, especially in network television, don't get that a lot. But Joss is Jesus Christ, and he's just his process is remarkable. So we kind of knew, and I think then the evolution of us as actors, he was sort of then kind of weaving that into his process. So we knew bits and pieces, but it was always, Joss and Tim Minear were like two little kids. When they would come, we'd all be on set. When they would break a story for the next episode, they would come running to set, like giggling little schoolgirls, and so excited. It was like, guess what? This is what's gonna happen in the next episode. That's so amazing. We just figured it out. So there was a little like spontaneity happening as each episode was coming out. But in terms of like Simon, I think there was he was gonna get his hands a little dirtier, take the stick out of his ass, just become more a part of the crew, and that was kind of starting to happen when Fox so lovely called it short, but that was it. And I just wanted Kaylee to have babies. Well, we wanted lots and lots of babies on the ship. We did.
What did the cast think when they killed Wash in the film?
Too soon.
Spoiler, sorry, spoiler.
I'm sorry, Wash dies? did we think? You know, is that anybody here? You know, it's heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking. It's a family. Yeah, it's like you know, gosh, it's so hard to articulate because all of these emotions are kind of welling up. I think the hardest thing for me as an actor was not the death of Wash. It was when Zoe says he ain't coming, and we all sort of go, oh, fuck, like, and I'm just getting chills now as I say that because it's like, you know, it was heartbreaking. It was like a family member, and it was, we knew it was happening before we read the script. Like that was what was happening. But I think, you know, and Joss would always say, like, it wasn't the end of Wash. He was going to figure out, like, had we had a couple more movies, you know, because it was a pending trilogy. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you know, it didn't do as well as Universal wanted it to do, so we didn't get to do part 2 or 3. But I don't think it would.
Did they come and check out New Zealand?
I mean, did they just look at the con man crowdfunding? It's kind of insane. But yeah, you know, it was heartbreaking. Book's death was also really tough to shoot. You know, I wasn't there when we shot Alan's death, but I do remember that day shooting that when Gina comes in and she's like, he ain't coming, and we're all just like, ah, it hurt. You know, and I think that's what happens. That's truly what was happening. I know we say this a lot, and I've actually said this about other projects, and it was never the truth. I was just trying to say it to like sell it, but like because we were so close as actors, and we just mutually respected each other as people, as human beings, as artists, and the work that we all did together. I mean, it was just like for Gina to say that line, and for just to like the energy just went like boom. Like it was just, there were moments like that just doesn't happen all the time with, you know, with other groups. So it was a pretty special group of people.
Got a question back here?
Yep.
I was just wondering, what advice would you give to someone who is like an aspiring actress or actor, and like how do you get in character when you get a new role and stuff like that?
You know, I'm finding in my old age that all the stuff, no, I'm just saying, like, you know, all the stuff that I thought was so important for being an actor, all the external stuff is, like if I could tell an actor, like get real clear on like who you are authentically, and get real clear on what it is that you want to do, and get really clear and quiet, you know, without all of there's so much external garbage that happens with an actor. There's like a lot of self-doubt, and so like I struggled for so long, like I call myself a recovering perfectionist, but you know, and that really bled into my work a lot. And when you're so preoccupied with what everybody else wants and what you think you should be doing, and it's not coming from inside, like if it's a craft that you need to do, regardless of whether or not, you know, it's what they want, I think that's the place. And they don't really teach you that in acting school. So all of the text work and all of that, like class stuff, that's great, and you need that. But for me, the most challenging part as an actor, and sort of the evolution of, you know, acting for me, is sort of like blending the actor and sort of like, you know, my spiritual component. Like if I could just like stand in my authenticity and not care, which is a really, really, really difficult thing to do, but to not care, you know, and to not take things personally. I think like if that could be a mantra like early on, you know, I think everything else falls into place. And then of course there's class, you know, I would say act wherever you can, fail wherever you can, fall on your face, make mistakes. You know, it's such a bigger risk to not do something than to do it and fall, right? You know, so it's like, and for years I was just, you know, so worried about everybody's perception of me, and it was really, I didn't enjoy acting for a while. It was just sort of this like, you know, so much fear of, you know, assuming that the dialogue that's happening over there is something negative about me, or like, you know, and as actors, we have so much time, like even when the camera's rolling, it's really only, you know, a few minutes. The rest of the time you're in your head, like you're either hanging out waiting to work, or you're, you know, sitting on set, or you're sitting in a trailer, or you're waiting to go into an audition, or you're waiting. So it's like you have a lot of time that it's just all this noise in here. So I would say address that, and address the internal before you worry about like, I gotta get a perfect headshot, and I gotta get this, and I gotta get that. Like I've gotta, you know, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is important too, but I think a lot of people and a lot of actors don't know or don't have a strong sense of who they are, and you know, walk into a room and there's just something inauthentic about the work, and it's not like, oh, they're bad, but it's just they're not being, like not simmering in sort of this truthful essence, if that makes sense.
Helen?
Hi.
Hi.
You've said before you're such a fan. I was wondering, have you ever played the board game?
You know, I don't, it's so funny. You'd think they'd send this stuff to us. I like see things for the first time at these events when I'm signing them, and I'm like this thing. You see my leaf on the wind?
Yeah.
I mean, why didn't anybody send me one of these? I'm like, I want one. I have not played the game. No. I don't even know what it's about. And now there's a Firefly clue. Have you seen this? Somebody sent me a picture from Barnes & Noble. They're like, look at you, you're on the cover of Clue, Firefly Clue. And I'm like, what? Why don't I get that stuff? So no, I haven't played it.
Sir, yeah.
And I couldn't even look at her. She was just so beautiful, and we had to do a press junket. We were all the way in California because we shot the series in New York, and we were in California. And they have the press junkets in Pasadena, which is pretty far outside LA proper. So we were in Beverly Hills, and they just put us in the same limo. Or no, we were going from Pasadena to the after party, or the Fox party. It was Fox. Another canceled show. And we drove in the limo, and it was just the two of us. They're like, why don't you guys just go ahead? And so we were in this limo, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And she's like, should we mix a drink? Yes! We shall. Anyway. Yes, there sure was. And it was called Jamestown. Yeah, I've got 3 favorite episodes. Jamestown was my favorite to film. Ariel was also my favorite as an actor to explore and then to watch. And then Safe was my favorite moment of the whole series for me, was the burning at the stake. Like, that was like my favorite moment. I loved filming that.
Sorry, I have a really long-winded question.
Okay.
When at the start, when River's walking through and she stops and Simon says, "I would still be there if it wasn't for you."
Yeah.
Do you think Simon meant, "I would still be there if it wasn't for what happened to you"? Because the what happened, or if it wasn't for you, just doesn't seem like Simon to me.
Well, all of that was kind of in her head. That was all craziness in her head anyway, and I think that wasn't meant to be from Simon. That was meant to be her perception of this warped moment. So no, I don't think he would ever say that, but I think in that moment, because of the you know, the shifting that happens with Simon, that happens with Book, and it was supposed to be warped and wrong and mean. Simon would never see it at the river.
I'm gonna name drop a
Thanks
bit
for running
myself.
around.
A friend of mine was the director of Browncoats Redemption. Are you like surprised at the creativity of all the Firefly fans?
Am I surprised or am I monumentally impressed?
Yeah,
I'm monumentally,
sounds better that way. Yeah.
I'm just monumentally blown away. I cannot believe, and I try and do as much as I can to help. But yeah, no. Am I surprised? No. I'm just like kind of really impressed. Yeah.
Have you seen Browncoats Redemption, or do you know about it?
I do. I have not seen it, but I wasn't given them. There's one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have not seen it. There was a screening one night at a con, and I had to do something at the same time, so I haven't seen it yet.
Very should. Michael's a great director.
Say it again.
You should. Michael's a great director.
Oh, okay. Good. If I had a word for what?
Like every actor on Firefly.
Oh gosh. Actor or character?
Actor.
Crazy. Captain. Nathan was captain. He was just our captain on screen, off screen. Morena, stunning. And Gina, Amazonian.
Yeah.
Greek goddess. Adam.
Greek buddies.
Adam Oaf. Jewel, love. Summer. What's the word I'm looking for? Grace. Alan. Yeah, now I'm looking for like, oh man, what's the word for someone with the most perfect comic? Just, oh man, that's a hard one. Alan's a hard one. Who'd I miss?
You.
Me? I'm not gonna make it work for me. Adam. Or did I say Adam? I didn't say Alan. Alan, oh, I didn't say Book. What was I thinking about with Book? Book, peace. Alan. Alan, it's like charm. That's a good question. How old are you? You're 14. And so you're like the new generation of, look at that. Yeah. What do you think? Again, my phone isn't ringing. Actually, you know, does everyone know I went in to do Avengers 2? I stood in for Mark Ruffalo. So Joss called, and you know, he's like, "Hey, I need a favor." I'm like, "Yes." You know, before I even know what it is. You know, we were on vacation, and I was gonna be home, and I knew I was available. So I'm like, "Sure, what do you need?" He's like, "Well, you know, we're doing reshoots with the Avengers 2, and Mark's not available the day that we're doing Scarlet's reshoots, and I really need an actor with some chops to get her where she needs to be." And I said, "Great, you know, sure, I'll do it for you, whatever." And he's like, "It will not be your face, it will be just behind you." And I'm like, "No problem." So I went there thinking, I don't know, there must be these like meaty scenes, right? That she's gonna really need an actor, but there weren't. Like, I just sort of kind of stood in for him. I did get to kiss her though. So there is that shot when right after she kisses me is so clearly me. So it's kind of done. It's a funny story because I get to hang out with Joss all day, so you know that's always good. And Scarlett's lovely and hot. And even for a gay man, I really enjoyed kissing her. But yeah, no, of course, I would love to. I joke about that purple costume. I think there was a design flaw because it was like a leotard instead of like two-piece, you know? And now I know for the future, right? If I'm a superhero again, I'm gonna need it in two pieces, you know, and just make it seamless with the belt, I guess. But yeah, no, I love that stuff. Like I think we all do.
Hi, Sean.
Hey.
As everyone here knows, Firefly is over 10 years old, and you and the rest of the Firefly cast have been all over the world being asked like, probably similar kind of questions over and over again. So I was wondering is there any particular kind of question or a story from the set that's in the back of your mind that makes you think, why weren't people asking about this?
Good question.
Yeah.
It is a good question. Gosh, I feel like we've kind of told y'all everything. I mean, sometimes I learn questions, or sometimes I learn things from you guys because you've seen somebody else speak and there was stuff that they told you that I didn't know about. And then I say, hey, so Nathan said that he did this, and what do you think about that? And I'd be like, he did that? I don't know. It's a good question. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that we haven't. Yeah, I don't know.
Question over here.
Hey there. I get to hang out with Jane and Anara today. But I was wondering who's your favorite Firefly character?
Ah, that's so funny. Somebody just asked me this in Melbourne and I couldn't answer it. And I was like, oh, and then I stayed up all night thinking about it. Of course, you know, why not? I think it's River. Why? I just, for both as an actor and as watching, that I just was, I don't know, it was such an interesting role to take on and so complex and so just across the board, just one of the most interesting characters I had ever come across in my acting career. And then to watch Summer do it was like so funny. So here's maybe something I've never told anybody. When we shot the pilot, Summer didn't think she was good. Like, truly was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you're so good. It was only her second job, and so she was so nervous and like, truly, and I think there was like, a lot of the Simon River stuff was truly me as an actor, just sort of like, being like, hey, I got you, and you are fantastic, and just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm gonna do it with you, and we're gonna go, and here we go. But it's just so funny, because she's like such a breathtaking actress, and she's just like, I'm just not very good. What?
Warehouse 13 seemed also like a really kind of like a fun crew, like just from my impression of it. Do you have any particularly fond memories of when you were able to work on that show?
Yeah.
Did you have fun as well?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I was with Jewel. Yeah. Enough said. You know, it's so funny. We were being so cliquey on that show. We were sort of like off in the corner, just like so excited to see each other, like that we were just like off in the corner laughing, and like other cast members would come over, and I think Allison tried to get us to do like some sort of online thing for the sci-fi, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were like so loopy and out of our minds, and we said no, and she like walked away from us and didn't speak to us the rest of the time. No, I'm kidding, she's sweet, but I think she was like, ooh, you guys really kind of want to do your own thing over here on this corner of the soundstage. But yeah, I had a great time. And Eddie is, I mean, have y'all met Eddie? Yeah. Eddie's such a great guy. And it reminds me of like, you know, like to be number one on the call sheet, that's just sort of the saying of like, you know, the star is number one on the call sheet. So that, you know, the top person, the number one on, you know, when we all get our call sheets, when we have to come in the next day. And so Nathan was number one, right? And so I always speak about how I've never seen anyone be number one so well because he just walked in and he knew everybody's name. On like the second day, everybody's name. If he was in a bad mood, you had no idea. He got his work done. He set the tone. It was such a hard job, harder than just, performing as much as he had to do being Mal. And it's such a tricky thing, and I've seen it done really not so great, where you step onto a set and it's either a nasty number one or like the star of the show, or he's like, like I said, hey, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, he or she. So it's an interesting, it's a gift, and Nathan was just, and I had not seen that until Eddie. Eddie really set this great tone on set, because it's the number one is gonna put the energy forth, and that's really how your set is gonna be. I mean, Nathan, I think, is still, the most wonderful in that regard. But Eddie is just such a great guy. So, we had a great time on that set. I joke about Allison, but, we really had a fun time,
Couple more questions.
Moment with the cast.
Oh God, that's another hard one. My first Dragon Con. Yeah, I did my first Dragon Con. And probably the panel where Nathan called me and Jewel. I think it's on YouTube and you can see it, but it's so funny. We let him know, hey, just so you know, Jewel and I are doing a panel at such and such a time. Ball's in your court. We'll keep our phones on.
Was that the one where he wanted to borrow the car?
Yeah, he wanted to borrow my car. He calls Jewel first, and he's like, hey, I have a quick question. I'm on set right now. I've got to talk really fast, but I just have an acting question. I'm just, I'm really struggling with this one intention. So he has this whole, as an actor, he's reaching out to another actor for some advice. He's like, okay, thanks, I gotta go. And then my phone rings. I was like, hey, Nathan. And he's like, hey, Sean, what's up? I just called Jewel. She's so stupid. And we went back and forth calling each other. And then he calls me and he's like, oh, Sean, can I borrow your car? My car broke down. It's just went back and forth. And that was the first one. And then we kind of kept doing the phone in. Alan called once, or we called Alan, and it was never as, it kind of lost its charm a little bit because it was so fun and spontaneous the first time. But that was a good memory.
All right, one more question, you'll close it.
Hi.
Hi.
What was it like when you and the rest of the cast got together for the very first time for Firefly?
Oh. Well, it's funny because we worked a little bit, and Morena was the last one. So there was another actress who was Inara, and we had a table read. We worked. We all had our fittings, so we were kind of underway, and not that those weren't first moments, but I do remember the moment that Morena got cast because we were shot on the Foxtrot, and that's where the network test was, and she had just gotten the job. And she walked us out, and we were shooting something in the cargo bay that day, so we were all there. And I just remember just sort of like a puzzle piece, just sort of coming together. We were like, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but we were all sort of like, this is it. This is the group. And it was just Morena, and we were all in our wardrobe, and she was in her sexy, audition actress outfit. And we were standing outside the cargo bay, and Joss brought her over to introduce us. And I just remember it was just a moment of this is the crew. This is what it is. So it wasn't anything other than, I don't know. It was also, again, I had said this before so many times about other work, jobs that I always when I'm talking to the press, it's always a soundbite we love each other so much, and we have lunch all the time on the weekends, and it's just so organic, And then when Firefly happened, I was like, so it is so. Or I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. There's something about this group of people that's just, it's just we didn't miss a beat. Nobody. It was just sort of, I don't know. It's so hard to articulate, but I think that's why the show resonated so strongly, because it really was just, I didn't feel like I was going to work. I didn't feel like I was working. Yeah. So, and thank God Miranda came, right? No. No.
All right, guys, everyone, thanks, Sean. Cool, he's going down to sign.